U.S. Open Cup match day in Houston. One lone team from Texas is going to be able to remain after this. Houston against San Antonio for that last spot after FC Dallas was eliminated last night. Victor Ariza checking in here with you alongside Jonathan Check from PNC Stadium. Jonathan, it's a big game for both teams, I think. I don't care what anybody says about if it's important, if it's not important. This is the magic of the cup, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. And you talk about this being a big game. I'm kind of lucky because we just got the lineups a few minutes ago, and it's exactly what I predicted. SAFC's got a nice, strong one. And just looking at social media, even after the last game SAFC had, of course, 3 weeks ago, beating Austin FC in the Open Cup, there was plenty of social media fanfare and excitement around that. Obviously, some of that comes from the history between the two cities with MLS and all that. But even just building up to today's match, SAFC is saying, all right, that's in the past. We've got our sights set on another cup set. And I think, like I said, strong lineup. So it's more than just social media banter. They're serious about this.
Yeah, we're on the ground here. I think teams have yet to reveal those lineups, but we will give you the official lineups here because we just got them hot off the press, hot off the copy here. For the Houston Dynamo, Michael Nelson will be in goal. Back four of Sam Junka, Ethan Bartlow, Zarek Valentine, and Griffin Dorsey. In midfield, Brooklyn Reigns, the youngster, the 16-year-old, is going to be again as he was against RGV, alongside Darwin Seren and Memo Rodriguez. And up top, a little bit of firepower here, a little bit of MLS flavor, some big timers. We got Thiago, the Brazilian, one of the big signings in this transfer window. Fafa Pico on the other wing, who was rested for the DC game. And how about the $6.5 million man, Sebastian Ferreira? Is this not important? Houston Dynamo certainly are feeling the importance of this. Jonathan, how is San Antonio approaching this? You mentioned some of the starters there, some of the big timers. What are you seeing from San Antonio?
Yeah, given a couple players like David Loera coming off of injury, this is just about the strongest SAFC lineup you could predict. And you mentioned a couple minutes ago, maybe we can't necessarily reveal too much. SAFC's tweeted it out, so I don't have to hold back or anything. Jordan Farr in goal, that's a no-brainer. Unfortunately, Matt Cardone sitting on the bench, only played the first Open Cup match, but when Jordan Farr has performed as he has in the league, getting multiple Team of the Week selections, multiple Save of the Week wins, you can't go with anyone else, really. Back three of Jasser Kamiri, Fabian Garcia, and Mitchell Tainter. That's the standard. That is a solid duo. Kamiri and Tainter were part of the team last year that made it all the way to the Western Conference Final. In midfield, Connor Maloney, FC Dallas Loney, Nicky Hernandez, Mohamed Abu, PC, and Jordan Ayambila. MLS experience in there. Right. Even if these guys aren't necessarily playing at that level now, they have that in their locker. And up top, Justin Dillon, Elliot Collier, also guys with MLS experience, also guys who I'm sure will maybe have something to prove tonight, just like they did 3 weeks ago against Austin FC.
That's right, and we obviously saw that match against Austin, San Antonio holding on their own turf. They're not at home for this one. They're on the road. It might be a little harder for them. As we mentioned, Houston, or as you may have read on the StrikerTexas.com, which, by the way, check out all the coverage from Houston, from San Antonio. John Arnold was last night in Kansas City for the Open Cup match there. Obviously, all situation going on with Austin. We got USO Championship news as well, the StrikerTexas.com. As we dive into this game, obviously, if you had read on our website, Houston trying to find a balance between MLS, between the U.S. Open Cup. As we mentioned, they do have some of the heavy hitters here today. I wrote in our preview, I think the key for them is to put this game away early, not mess around like they've done in some of the prior games. Jonathan, for San Antonio, obviously they're taking this seriously. Obviously they want to, and especially now that this game will define the last Texas team in this edition of the Open Cup. Talk to me a little bit about the lineup, about how they're focused on trying to what they need to do, the keys to victory here, what they need to do to win.
Yeah, like I said in my preview, it's about SAFC picking its moments, finding its chances, and actually taking them. There were no shortage of chances at the weekend against Phoenix, but SAFC was far behind that team when it came to actually finishing those chances. And so it's going to be interesting to see tonight when they get those chances, because they might be fewer and farther between here against Houston, if they are able to finish those, if Dylan Collier, guys like PC. He was on the end of 3 chances, couldn't put any of them in the other night. So it's definitely about picking those, and as it would usually be for a division team coming here trying. But you're certainly going to see no shortage of effort tonight. And if I may kind of circle back to the Houston lineup,
Yeah.
something I remember 3 weeks ago with Austin FC when their lineup came out was people saying it was sort of a B plus, A minus. How would you grade the strength of
I
this
would say
Houston
similar
lineup?
to what Austin did, because Austin had some of their heavy hitters there, right? Like Diego
Mm-hmm.
Fagundes, for example. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Drusi played that game as well.
I think he might have gone 120 minutes.
Ruti made his way in. So yeah, I do think it is kind of a mixed lineup as well. I do think it's not completely, an alternate lineup as they did against RGV. And listen, there is a bit of a question mark with Houston because they should have played RGV out of the stadium. They should have with the way they had their lineup against them. They should have dominated. Honestly, this has been a game, right? Paulo Nagamura, the head coach, has mentioned opportunity for younger players. Well, there's some younger players that need to take that opportunity, need to maybe show a little bit more. Because if you can't show up in these games, then why should the coach pick you for the MLS matches, right? So I do think there is a lot to prove for some of the players that aren't getting enough minutes in this lineup. Obviously, the maybe one of the players to watch is a young teenager, Brooklyn Reigns. They picked him up from the Barcelona Academy and out in Utah. RSL had the homegrown rights. He can't play with Dynamo just yet because there are some MLS restrictions there with his homegrown status. But hey, he's getting some playing time here in the U.S. Open Cup, and that's another thing that this has been beneficial for. But again, I think having a guy like Sebastian Ferreira, this could be a great opportunity for him as well to get some good goals. Fafa Pico, Thiago, the Brazilian, who's trying to play himself into fitness. Um, the way this is set up, I'm going to say Houston. Houston. There is no reason Houston shouldn't win this game. But am I wrong?
I don't think you are. MLS and weird roster rules. What a surprise there. Um,
And I'm saying, maybe am I underestimating San Antonio a little bit?
I don't think you are. I think a couple times, even just talking to Houston before this match, I know you saw them saying, look, MLS is the priority, but maybe this lineup says something a little different. It's interesting to see what kind of mix it is, but I think you can't have all of these strong players if they don't take this match seriously. And so it's going to be very interesting to see kind of what the commitment is tonight, how they're playing throughout the 90 or potentially 120 minutes. If the effort is there,
because it has to be a winner. We could go to extra time
because
here tonight.
You could have a bunch of Messis and Ronaldos out there, but if the effort's not there, what good does it do?
Yeah. In Houston's case, this was a bit of a consolation prize a couple of seasons ago. In 2018, the season before, it was the prior edition prior to COVID, right? I do think for Houston, in the way their season is going, maybe this could be a cup that could save the season in a way. For San Antonio, what would it mean, Jonathan? You've known the Pulse in San Antonio. You've seen the interest. I think San Antonio, if you told them what they want to be playing in 2022. PNC Stadium is definitely one of the places, but maybe not just in the Open Cup. They've been wanting to play in MLS as well. They have a chance here to show what they have, their quality against MLS opposition. They showed what they can do against Austin. I think they wanted to prove it's not a fluke. How much does it mean for San Antonio to get to the next round?
It means plenty, and honestly, I think playing here at PNC Stadium or potentially Toyota or Q2 Stadium is obviously great. It's a good indicator, but even more than that, I'm sure SAFC would love to have a home match, bring one of these teams in. I know 3 weeks ago against Austin, it was just a packed stadium, an electric atmosphere. You could really tell that the SAFC fans and some of the Austin fans, it was their first Open Cup game. They were all up for it. But when it gets to a stage like this, obviously, 32 teams left. SAFC could be the only Texas team. They've posted on social media how much that means to them, trying to get another Texas MLS scalp. And if you advance to this, you're in the round of 16. You're playing against mostly MLS teams. A few lower division teams will be guaranteed to make it through. SAFC will certainly want to join them, not even just for the money or the prestige, but to keep going, to keep proving themselves against these teams, because you can only go so far in the USL Championship. And if you even win that championship, okay, great, you won the second division. But if you prove yourself against these MLS teams, these bigger teams that are taking it somewhat seriously tonight, it's really a feather in your cap.
Jonathan, who's going to be the player to watch for San Antonio? I'm going to let you think it over a little bit. I'm going to tell you Houston's player has to be the big money man, right? The multi-million-dollar acquisition of the offseason, the Paraguayan striker Sebastian Ferreira. He's scored 4 goals with maybe lack of help. One of them goal of the week here in a Copa Tejas, another Copa Tejas environment, and he's a man here, just like Fafa Pico did last year. And maybe another player to watch for the same reason, that gets up for these rivalry games, these Copa Tejas matchups. Sebastian Ferreira has scored against Dallas, has scored against Austin. He didn't get to play against RGV, but he may be eyeing that back of the net against San Antonio. Who's the man to watch for San Antonio? Who could make a difference, Jonathan?
Yeah, so in my preview, I said Jordan Farr, the goalkeeper for SAFC. Like I said, he's been fantastic for the last month or so, ever since he just surprisingly came in when the first choice keeper decided to retire. And he's justified his starting spot pretty much every week. And so obviously against a strong lineup with Houston and great players, he's probably going to have a lot to do tonight. If I had to add maybe a secondary player to watch, it would be someone like PC, the team captain, sort of one of the team's leaders, but probably the one wearing the armband tonight.
You mentioned it too, MLS experience.
Exactly, with the likes of Vancouver and I want to say Orlando City. And so it's going to be very interesting to see, how he's playing tonight and egging, his other 9 outfield players. I don't think Farr will need the motivation, but the other 9 players out there with him, telling them, come on, keep going, keep pushing, don't let up. Because I know about a month ago when he was one of the few experienced guys in the lineup for the first Open Cup match against Defeaters Kicks SC, after the match he was saying, we have to kind of guide these players along. But I'm sure he does that even with the first teamers as well.
Yeah. Obviously, players you can maybe hear the stadium sound. Players behind us warming up on the field. We mentioned how big this could be for both teams. Obviously, the players to watch. We remind you once again, the StrikerTexas.com, your destination for everything around this game. With all due respect, I don't think there is as much coverage as we have done for this game, and we're going to continue to bring it to you. We will see you on the other side of this thing, a post-game show. It could be in 90 minutes from kickoff. It could be 120 minutes. Could be after PKs. We'll see what's in store tonight here at PNC. Jonathan, I think, is already wondering, what are you hoping for? Let me get your prediction here tonight.
Yeah, so I noticed on social media the Striker Texas posted a little while ago, what are you expecting? And it was a poll with the results. And like I said on there, I just want to see a good game of soccer, something that's exciting. I don't want a snooze fest. Just not too many goals. I know a couple weeks ago against Monterey Bay, it got a little exhausting covering 6 goals there. If I have to do a prediction, I'm going to repeat what happened 3 weeks ago. 2-1 SAFC after extra time.
There you go. Punch your ticket and think Jonathan check later, maybe. I'm still saying Houston. Again, we'll have all this covered for you on the StrikerTexas.com. We'll see you on the other side of this thing right after the game. Check back here. Turn on alerts. Do what you got to do. And we'll give you all the analysis after the match right here on the Striker Texas and the StrikerTexas.com.